I'd like to call the meeting to order and have a roll call.
Alderperson Swanson.
Here.
Parker.
Here.
Pulis.
Here.
Healy.
Here.
Robinson.
Here.
Hertz.
Here.
Gilbert.
Present.
And Mayor Tomes.
Here. And if we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, remain standing for a moment of silence, please. Thank you very much.
But we need a moment of silence for Sparky.
Oh, Sparky, I was gonna see, what did I miss?
Sparky.
I did see that. Sparky's gone. All right, public comment. We have a few people that have signed, starting with Healy Loud? Healy Loud? Loud? Oh, yes. I apologize for the pronunciation. Right there? Yep.
Hello, my name is Haley Laud. I am a sophomore at Rock Island High School, and I am here on behalf of the public library. The Rock Island Public Library and the YMCA is only about a block away from my house, making it very convenient to walk around to during the summer and when I would normally read with friends or even on my own. Over the summer, I would walk to the library at 2 and stay there until about 6 or 7 at night reading. The library has always been a nice, quiet place for me to sit and write debate cases or speeches and just to read in general. Not to mention at school or when our school library doesn't have books that I wanted or some sort of resource that I wanted for speech, the Rock Island Library has never hesitated to deliver the books in like 2 days. It has been awesome for me and very convenient. The library has always gotten me a book within a few days, and even now I try to go to the library to study in their study rooms, even when I'm especially busy, or just to read when I want a bit of peace and quiet, which is why I volunteered to be here in the first place. I think that the public library is just this amazing place to study or to just have a bit of quiet time to myself, especially with the amount of siblings that I have. It's really convenient for me. I really do enjoy going there.
Very good, thank you. Ann. Lyon? I don't know.
McGlynn.
McLendon.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me. My name is Ann McGlynn. I'm the founder and executive director of Tapestry Farms. We're a nonprofit urban farm system that invests in the Quad Cities. Tonight, we have Kate from the Botanical Center, Laura from Deer, and my colleague Sonia, also from Tapestry Farms. We're asking you for a yes vote on the variances towards the end of your meeting that will allow us to place a hydroponics unit in the parking lot of the Botanical Center. Probably the most important thing I want to tell you is the spirit of your city staff who said, we're not sure how to do this, we've never done it before, but let's figure it out, is why we chose Rock Island. So we are deeply appreciative of that. Our work is focused on eliminating barriers, specifically for refugees, but also hoping to increase food security in our community, specifically with fresh, locally grown produce. This summer, we delivered approximately 5,000 pounds of produce to a variety of pantries in our community, including Heart of Hope in Rock Island, World Relief in Moline, and then about 6 on the Davenport side of the river. We love what we do. It is limited, though, because we can only grow seasonally during the summer. This hydroponics unit has been a dream of ours since the beginning of our organization about 6.5 years ago. We will be able to grow year-round, fresh, nutrient-dense produce that we will be able to provide to our community. And so we really, really ask for your yes vote tonight in support of this project. And if you have any questions during your deliberations, we're all here. Thanks so much.
You bet. Thank you. Thank you very much. Juan. Is that right? Nope.
Juan, oh, sorry. I'm Anel Salinas. Juan is my dad.
Okay.
We just signed the paper. We didn't know we were signing. So I'm sorry. I didn't know it was just for like comments. But we applied for the special permit use or the special use permit that you'll be deliberating about tonight.
Okay.
So we'll be back there. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that's everyone that's signed up.
Mr. Mayor, I want to make a clarification regarding the agenda for everybody who's watching outside. So, everybody's all concerned about our OMA violations. So the agenda, if you're looking for it, is not in the normal place where it normally is. The last agenda there is September 11th. You need to go into the demo of the portal for the Civic Clerk Plus to get the agenda. So anybody listening, that's where you need to go to get the agenda. And the reason I just want to bring that up is because, there are legalities with OMA that you always want to follow the legal word of the law. There's also perception, and sometimes perception is really not the same as the legal wording. It's just different. But I just wanted to bring that up in case there were any questions that anybody has. Legally, all we have to do is post it on the door of City Hall. We don't have to put it on our website. We do as a convenience and courtesy, and hopefully moving forward, we'll make sure that it's there every meeting, where it's been for at least the last 6-7 years, so everyone can find it. So I just wanted to bring that up in full transparency.
Very good. Good catch. Thank you very much. Okay, item number 6.
Minutes of the September 11th, 2023 study session and regular council meeting.
Move to approve the minutes as printed.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Roll call. Oop, voice.
vote.
Excuse me, voice. I didn't read it. It habits. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Thank you. Item 7 is Rock Island update. Couple items. Garbage collection pickup dates may be changing in your neighborhood. Starting the week of October 1st, your garbage collection pickup date may change, but recycling and yard waste collection days will remain unchanged. Find your updated refuse collection day at rigov.org/refuse, REFUSE. Free leaf bag pickup. The city will pick up yard waste bags for free beginning October 16th through December 8th. The city is also giving out free yard waste bags starting Monday, October 9th, at the Public Works Office located at 1309 Mill Street, Saukey Golf Course at 3101 38th Street, South Rock Island Township Office, and the Rock Island Township Office. The City of Rock Island does not allow the burning of leaves or yard waste. Free concerts continue at Schwiebert Riverfront Park. Thursday Night Groove continues this week with the band of For Those Above to Yacht. About Yacht. Man, For Those About to Yacht. The fun begins at 6 p.m. with concessions from Happy Joe's Pizza and Bent River Brewery. The band starts playing at 7 p.m. Each concert is free and fun for all ages. Item number 8.
A special ordinance regarding a request from the First Financial Group to remove the handicap parking spot at 2024 33rd Street, second reading.
Move to pass the ordinance.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hurt.
Aye.
And Gilbert.
Aye.
Item number 9.
Consent agenda items A through E.
Move to approve the consent agenda items A through E. Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hertz.
Aye.
And Gilbert.
Aye.
Item number 10.
Claims A through D.
Motion to approve claims A through D.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion?
Due to the nature of my employment, I need to recuse myself from this vote.
Roll call, please.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hertz.
Aye.
And Gilbert.
Aye.
Item number 11.
A, report from the Public Works Department requesting an extension to the water tower maintenance agreement with Utilities Service Company, Inc. of Perry, Georgia.
Move to approve the agreement extension as recommended.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hertz.
Aye.
And Gilbert.
Aye.
Item 11B.
Report from the Public Works Department to amend the original Intergovernmental Support Agreement, IGSA, with the Rock Island Arsenal.
Move to approve the amendment to the Intergovernmental Support Agreement as recommended.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hertz.
Aye.
And Gilbert.
Aye.
Item 11C.
Report from the Community and Economic Development Department regarding approval of an economic development agreement with Crawford Company.
Motion to approve the development agreement and allow the city manager to execute the agreement.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hertz.
Aye.
And Gilbert.
Aye.
Item 11D.
Report from the Community and Economic Development Department regarding approval of an economic development agreement with Friendship Manor.
Move to approve the development agreement and allow the city manager to execute the agreement.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion?
I do.
Yes.
Miles, could you come up? Thank you. So I just kind of want some clarification in all transparency for everybody listening out there. So last year, we allocated roughly $170,000 to Friendship Manor to help with upgrades to the independent living area.
You know, that was approximately $170,000 of the CDBG CV funding that remained from our original allocation. This was the COVID relief funding. Ultimately, what that went to was improvements to their phone and internet systems predominantly.
Okay. And then this time, we're being asked for $200,000, $100,000 coming from the GRIT, and then the other from tax. So I just want for clarification to bring up that this is for a renovation, a building project. It's not for any programming. It is for a bricks and mortar building program, correct?
This would be a comprehensive renovation expansion to their independent living facilities, which are really necessary for them in staff's understanding of their business model to remain competitive. So this would allow for them to modernize their facilities and make them more similar to some of their competition that we might see on the Iowa side.
Okay. And then the other thing is, how long have we been working on this with Friendship Manor?
Several months now. So we initially received a kind of written request from them outlining the nature of the project, as well as all of the different kind of funding sources that they would be utilized. They provided us the same sort of information that many others would for an economic development project, including who else they were seeking assistance from, sort of showing where the city fell in that overall set of requests for various parties to partake of the project.
And then I understand there's a loan application deadline. When is that?
I don't know the date offhand, I have to say.
So Friendship Manor, as I understand it, is closing on a bond with CREDA, QCREDA.
Yes.
And that closing, I believe, is October 2nd. They have secured a buyer for that bond, and that's Blackhawk Bank.
Okay, thank you.
There we are.
Okay, so I guess the point that I'm trying to bring up is you've been working on this for months, and I just found out about it Tuesday. And I just got documentation on it Friday for a vote today cannot be extended to the next meeting for my questions and concerns to be adequately answered because there's a loan closing. So I'm a little bit frustrated on the timing of that. I mean, I truly believe that city council should never, ever, ever harm a nonprofit that's trying to help people. So I am going to vote for it because I believe in Friendship Manor and what they're doing, and it's a really good thing. I guess my request is moving forward, and I know we've asked this before, is there any way we could be kind of caught in the loop like a couple weeks earlier, just so that I'm not trying to make a decision on something in 6 days?
And a timing question is probably better directed at me, since I sort of, interface between the staff and the council. And while we've been working on it in months, it's from the city side of it and how we can meet their need, only kind of came together, recently, and that's why the council was only presented with the package recently. To that end, even yet tonight, in order to facilitate this project, we've got to change our guidelines related to grit and PEP, and that's really why it came to you at the last minute, because the details came together, our proposal came together, how we could meet their need came together only fairly recently.
Right. No, I just wanted to ask those questions in light of, the fact that Friendship Manor is a nonprofit, and, we had been talking about that with ARPA funds. So thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yes, of course. And I do just want to point out that Friendship Manor employs well over 200 people. Those are FTE positions. And again, this question of competitiveness, especially in the realm of independent care, is a really critical question. And that's why staff feels strongly in support of this assistance package.
Oh, no, I think the plan's phenomenal. I think it's amazing. And my mother-in-law was there, so I hope that isn't a conflict of interest for me that I can't vote on it. Just wanna make
Many
sure.
people have personal and professional connections to an organization as large and important as this one.
Okay, thank you.
To Alderperson Swanson's point, CED staff or DARI, our economic development team, maintain a list of the different projects that we have in the hopper, shall we say. They're code named, of course, to remain anonymous. Is there any way that the city council could receive quarterly copies or something to that effect of these project lists?
Yeah, we could, and we're going to get ready to add another person to the economic development mix, and one of our first points of discussion between staff and DARI will be how to better communicate with council in this regard and providing more regular updates. And, as the project moves along, the information becomes more specific, and also staff is better able to reveal it. Early on in the discussions, organizations often want to keep a very tight rein on the details, but we could certainly look at ways to provide the code names and general descriptions of projects to the council, and as we move forward, provide additional detail as appropriate. So we'll be talking more about that in the future, and trying to do a better job of communicating the projects and the details at different points along the development of the project.
Okay, any further discussion?
I just
Roll
want
call.
to, I just want to
Oh, I'm
agree
sorry.
with that. Not only with this context, just in general, when we get the agenda, we're getting it in a very short time frame. So, I mean, anything that we can get, because there's going to be some other questions I have for some stuff on the agenda coming up, that we just were made aware of it when the, agenda releases Friday or sometimes Thursday. But the sooner staff can get information to council on anything that's coming up that you think is going to get an agenda, or Todd, if things are coming up, give us the information as soon as we can so we can do our due diligence with our residents, especially with some of the stuff I have questions with later. I don't have time to ask those questions because I'm getting it on Friday and I'm voting on Monday. So I didn't mean to.
It could go to a procedure. We don't vote on anything 30 days before it's due, things like that. I agree exactly with what you're saying. You had to know when the grant was due, and in that short amount of time, your emergency shouldn't be our problem, so.
Our past practice
Yeah.
was all of these kinds of items came to us in study session.
Yeah.
And then so that you knew about them ahead of time and you knew what was supposed to be voted on. And that's why we moved, originally, it was always Friday posting of agenda, and we moved it to Thursday agenda, so that there would be the extra Friday of questions. But when things don't get finished until Friday,
Yeah, we can put together some options related to this. As was indicated, some cities will actually have kind of a pre-meeting for every agenda item. Part of the trick for staff is deciphering what the council needs more lead time on than others. And one thing I've mentioned to council members is, we're never offended if you want to table something for more information. So don't feel overly pressured to approve an item on the agenda if you don't feel ready for it. If you do have questions, you do want more time, it's certainly appropriate to table an item.
And I would agree, generally that will work, but when you're given something on Friday or Thursday that has to be voted on Monday, that really doesn't give us a whole lot of time.
Sometimes that does happen. We got to make sure that we also, on the other side of it, there are some times that, once again, in economic development, that the developers, or, not just in Friendship Manor's case here, but I'm saying there's other ones, that it wasn't their choice to make it this rushed either, but because of circumstances, it needs to.
And
We
I-
also want to kind of streamline things. Part of what we've talked about, that will be coming up earlier, is with the planning and zoning and the merging some of these boards together, is to try to help streamline these things, but yet not lose the check and balance with these, because some people get very frustrated when you got to go to one committee and get approval, and then you got to wait 30 days to go to another committee, and then you got to wait a couple weeks to get into city council. And unfortunately, when economic development, that's not how it works typically. It's a faster pace than that. And so we just got to be conscious of that also.
But you could still give council a heads up.
Yes,
Yeah. And in this case, we couldn't postpone it because they would miss the deadline.
that's correct. So sometimes it just happens. You have to, if you remember, some of those go back, we've even had special council meetings a few times to approve some. All right.
It's just you and me anymore, Mayor.
Yeah, I guess it
You and
is.
me.
All right, are we ready to vote? Let's do roll call.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hertz.
Aye.
And Gilbert.
aye.
Thank you very much. Item 12A.
Report from the Community and Economic Development Department regarding the consolidation of the Planning Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals into the Planning and Zoning Commission, first reading.
Table this item.
To a certain date?
Yeah, I don't know what date, not the next meeting. Meeting after that.
Yeah, October
9 and
23rd or
7,
25th
16.
or something like that.
No, that's not it.
October 24th, 3rd, 25th, somewhere.
Whatever,
right
the
in there.
second October meeting.
The second October meeting?
I can tell you exactly real quick.
I'll second that.
24th,
23rd.
23rd.
It's been moved in second.
Unfortunately, I had questions, so I'll just wait because
That's right, we
no
can't.
questions are allowed here.
That's correct. Roll call.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
No.
Pulis.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hertz.
Aye.
And Gilbert.
Aye.
Motion carries to table until the October 23rd meeting.
Thank you. Item 12B.
Report from the Community and Economic Development Department regarding the sale of city-owned property at 1830 32nd Street, first reading.
Move to consider, suspend the rule, and pass the ordinance.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Miles, could you come up, please? I just have a couple questions for you. So how many qualified applicants did we have?
This was the first one, and they cleared the hurdle right out of the gate. So it came in so fast, we only had the one.
You only had one qualified applicant? Not long, our offer, applicants.
An offer came in so fast, this was the applicant who passed all the gates first.
So you didn't even look at, okay, all right. So when you say proceeds from the property sale will become program income and go back into the overall budget, what part of the budget?
It's the CDBG program budget.
I know that, but what part of the CDBG program budget?
I believe it just goes back into the administration pool, so that administration part. So remember, there's like the 7 sections of it in administration
Yeah,
alone.
why isn't it going back into rehabbing?
We can move it into rehab if that's desired.
I would rather see it go into rehabbing more homes
Oh,
than into
we can certainly do
administration.
that.
I mean,
yeah.
I know it's just shifting money around.
Yeah, it's just shifted, so I mean, it can go wherever we would like, really.
Yeah.
People, other
That's
people
not
have
what
that feel?
That's not what this motion is considering, is
No.
whether we're going to sell it or not.
Right,
sell it.
That's
I know,
correct.
but I'm just asking questions off
Okay.
of the memo.
Okay,
So, that was it.
Sure, yeah.
thank you, Mark, for that. All right,
For the record, for those of you who have not been through that house, it is amazing.
It is.
Very well done.
yes. The one before that was done, too.
Yeah, and credit where credit is due. The community development team headed up by our community development manager, Nicole Mata, really, I think, did an excellent job taking lessons from the first rehab house that was done on 15th Avenue and applying them to this one. I think when you look at the costs of the project and then kind of how things are shaking out with the sale, it makes a lot more sense in the way it was done, and that basically is attributable to the fact, primarily, that they just ran it in-house without a general contractor, that staff acted as their own general, did a lot of good on the cost savings.
Is there another house identified for, are you gonna, I'm sure you're gonna do it again. Is there another house identified for?
So before we proceed with that, as the memo describes, we want to put together an actual urban homestead program policies and procedures document, take that before the Community Development Commission for discussion, and ultimately bring that back to council. We don't want to proceed with these projects until we have a program fully approved by the council, and we know that everyone's in favor of us doing that. That was kind of the original plan way back pre-pandemic, that we were going to do 2 pilot projects, see how it all shaked out, and then come back with a full program proposal. It took a lot longer than we originally thought it would, again, primarily because of the pandemic. That remains kind of the original plan. I would say, though, that if it is ultimately approved, the real pipeline for new properties will probably be through the land bank. The land bank will be able to acquire a set of properties that we can actually go into and make a more strategic selection about what houses we want to take on into that program.
That's what I was gonna ask, if you can just clarify the purpose of us doing this, or you, CED doing this, is not for us to get into the real estate business. There's an end goal that we're trying to reach, so.
Yeah, it's to inspire neighborhood revitalization as well as create a single unit of affordable housing, right? So the program, as you see it practiced in our neighboring communities, again, in Davenport, they have a program that's almost identical to this. They've been doing it for something like 30 years. Moline has done it off and on. In fact, both of those teams, the Davenport Community Development Team and the Moline Community Development Team, toured the house to see what we were doing because they wanted to know how we might do things differently than they do and learn from us. You know, it's that same sort of thing. You fix up one house on the block to show that the neighborhood still has value, still has good bones, is still worth investing in. You provide a model for people to make those investments.
Any pl-
A lot of positive media coverage out of it, too.
I think there's a lot of folks out there who kind of look at this and they see a lot of the possibility that it inspires. And again, you know, we're just kind of copying a model that we've seen as successful in other communities, and I think there was a lot of interest to see Rock Island finally get on board with that idea and move forward with it ourselves in our own way.
Any plans on applying for home money from HUD?
We are still discussing that with Moline and trying to figure out strategically the best way to do it. One of the issues we have that is a bit of a roadblock is that our population collectively in the Illinois Quad Cities is too low to go into a home application without CDB match money. And so looking at our kind of upcoming 5-year consolidated planning process, thinking about how the City of Moline and the City of Rock Island might go in together with a contribution, basically to match in the initial application, is where the discussions are at now. So we're still looking at it, but it's a bit of a hard road to hoe.
Thanks.
All right, roll call, please.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Poulos.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hertz.
Aye.
And Gilbert.
Aye.
Item 12C,
Report from the Community and Economic Development Department regarding a special use permit request from Juan Salinas at 2626 7th Avenue. First reading.
Move to approve the special use permit. Consider suspend the rules and pass the ordinance.
Second?
moved to second. Any discussion?
I have some questions.
Yes.
So, I mean, it wasn't clear to me from the pictures. Oh, wait, you got it. with this software, you gotta pull up each thing individually. So is that retail store still operating? Is this business gonna be operating out of the one bay, the garage door unit?
So I would invite, because they are in attendance, the applicant
if,
to talk a little bit about it.
If Tim could pull up the maps and photos on this item?
Yeah. So for those who might be watching, this is the old Waltz Service Station, or excuse me, no, this is that other location, sorry. Getting
So-
it mixed around.
In the future, could you just make that all one PDF?
We certainly, sorry, we're also learning along with everyone else. But if the applicant would like to just talk a little bit about kind of what's all involved here, I think it would be best to hear it from them.
Hi.
Hello.
My name is Anel. So we would like to open a tire shop service.
So that's in place of where this other liquidator's business was?
Yes.
Okay.
The business it's closed down, so so it's relocated. So it's available for us.
Okay, that answers the question. That was it then.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderperson Swanson. Aye. Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hertz.
Aye.
And Gilbert.
Aye.
Item 12D,
Report from the Community and Economic Development Department regarding a special use permit request for Eugene Gaylord at 812 44th Street. First reading.
Move to deny the request.
Second.
moved in second. Any discussion?
Just for the record, I had several complaints about what is currently going on there. And spoke with our CED folks and respect their opinion on this matter.
Tim, if I may, would you please open up the map and photos? Scroll down until you see a photo of the driveway. Just in case anyone hasn't seen what the request really consists of.
Okay.
So what kind of timeframe will operations have to be ceased if this goes through?
We'll probably give them 2 weeks' notice
Okay.
to cease operations, which is our standard, and if they continue, then we will issue citations and go through the enforcement process per usual. That's initially how some of these things, including this one, come to us. So they are cited for something, given an opportunity to apply for approval of it, and then if approval is denied, the process just starts again without that option offered again.
Thank you, sir.
Roll call.
Alderperson Swanson. Aye. Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hertz.
Aye.
And Gilbert.
Item 13A,
Report from the Mayor's Office and General Administration regarding a resolution issuing a moratorium on all new Class A, B, C, D, and E liquor license application for a period of 6 months, expiring March 31st, 2024. Just to be clear, restaurants are still allowed to open up, because I did have that question.
Motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
moved in second. Any discussion?
Do I understand correctly that we're doing this because staff and I guess council is wanting to improve our liquor code
Correct.
because of some of the discussions, shall we say, that we've had as of late?
Correct.
All
Correct.
right, I mean,
And this date lines up when liquor license expires and time to renew them. It's when this lines up date-wise, just so people know.
So,
but we're saying for, well, yeah, I guess. I guess the only thing I'm concerned about is that existing businesses with this license would not be able to sell. Basically, if they have a business with a liquor license that's not a restaurant, their businesses value less, and they could not sell the business. If Tim's Corner, just to pick on Tim's Corner, I don't know why, but.
Right, no, that's fine.
If Bar ABC wanted to sell before the new year, they couldn't, because they couldn't transfer the liquor license.
Correct, there's no transfer,
cannot.
that is correct. That is correct. You can do 49% of the business, but you can't do
Right,
more than
if somebody
50.
wanted to retire and say,
Right.
okay, if somebody's retirement plans included getting out of the business by the end of 2023, we are telling them, good luck selling it.
Correct. That is correct, unless it's a restaurant or something like
Right,
that.
but
That
I'm
is
talking
correct.
about bar
That is correct.
ABC.
Now, at this point, nobody's approached us on this, but yes.
Well, I know of a certain bar owner that has often said that he's looking to sell.
Oy.
but-
Yeah, there's a kitchen there.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it seems like, I don't know what the right phrase is, but using a gigantic hammer for a teeny tiny thumbtack. I don't know if it's, I mean, yeah, we need to clean up the liquor license process, but that's the process that we've had for the last, I don't know, decades. And it's been messy, yeah, but do we really need to issue a moratorium? I'm not convinced.
I guess can I piggyback on what you're gonna say?
Sure.
Or have said?
I'm done, yeah.
Right, I guess, so then, are we definitively going to have something in 6 months? Because we've already gone the 6 months.
I would,
So-
excuse me, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, basically, we'll have gone a year then. So, we did the first 6 months waiting for something, haven't gotten anything. So now, the next 6 months, are we definitively going to have something? Because that is, as you said, Mayor, when the liquor licenses come up.
Todd can speak too, but my goal was to have it even before 6 months, because you don't want to be, like we talked about, the last minute, changing that at the same time. But go ahead.
Yeah, I wouldn't anticipate it would take 6 months. The primary cause for this extension is related to the transition with the city attorneys. You
your
know,
fault.
being in flux, but we've hired a new individual and they started beginning of October, so we wouldn't anticipate spending the whole 6 months. We should be able to move forward on it fairly expeditiously. We've done some work on it to date.
Okay. I just do want to go with what Dylan said, that, you know, you talk about economic growth, that could stunt it.
And if for some reason things move along faster than we think, doesn't mean we can't change this.
Okay.
So is there anything that council can see now, like a draft form? Do we have to wait until it's finalized before we can see it?
No, we don't have anything substantive to show you at this point. We've done research, but we don't have anything drafted or anything like that.
And yes, you would see it before the final, before it gets voted on, everything else, to get input on that for sure.
So let's just suppose, like, something happens and it gets dragged out. Can we then just say, okay, the moratorium's over
Yeah.
until, just get it written and we change it when it's written, but
Sure.
In my opinion,
moratorium.
we've already reached that point, and let people sell their businesses if they want to, or start a business. In the time that we're working on this, I mean, it's probably not gonna be a factor. I don't know of any immediate sales pending or anything like that, but just, I see this as using a gigantic hammer for a very small bureaucratic thing that we need to update. This seems unnecessary. Let's just work on the thing without the moratorium.
Yeah, nothing got done for 6 months. Do we have to adopt this resolution tonight?
It's already, motion has been made in every discussion, so it'd have to be, the vote could be turned down.
Or tabled? Somebody can make a motion to table.
You'd have to
Doesn't that
withdraw
take
the other
precedent?
ones first, everything else, but.
And so we would no longer have a moratorium on any liquor license. So anybody starting tomorrow then would be able to come in.
So the
If that's-
moratorium ends today?
It ends at the end of the month, correct? So just kind of for reference there.
But we had 6 months and there's nothing been done
Right.
within the 6 months already.
Partially because of the attorney changeover and everything else, but yes,
But we knew that back in February, so,
yes. I'm not saying, I said partially.
yeah.
Again, the process that we have currently has been the process that the city's had for decades. It's how all these other businesses have their liquor licenses. And yes, it's been messy the past couple of months, but I don't see that as a reason that we should just say, okay, not a single liquor license for bars will be issued for the next year.
Yeah, I just figured we just stumble through like we've been stumbling through until we can get a new one up and running. I mean, there's no other way of saying it. But to shut everything down, and this is like, Alderman Healy was saying, it will be a year if we extend this. And we are nowhere, we have nothing even started, so.
Correct. No, once again, it's fine to go that way.
And I know
It's just
there's-
nobody
yeah.
has come forth asking for one, and we've had to say no, I don't think.
Have we started work
We've
on
had-
this? No.
We've had two inquire about opening a bar.
For new
But there
license?
wasn't correct. But I think it was the mayor's direction and understanding that council or the city didn't want more bars, so hence the moratorium. At least that was my understanding.
Well, not only just the bars, just the liquor stores in general, up and down 18th Avenue. I feel like we have such a overload down there, a corridor of, and I think that's one thing that really kind of prompted all this to begin with. And I mean, if I have to remember right, that's kind of what brought this all up. We had so many down there, it became nothing but a liquor store and vape shop corridor in the city of Rock Island. And that's, I mean, that's great for certain businesses. That's not what, is that what our city is defined as one of our main corridors is nothing but liquor stores and vape shops, in my opinion.
I thought this came up because of some of the signatures, the requirements with the
Both.
signatures.
The confusion was with signatures and mails, but it was
Right.
also, there was a uptick of, I'll call it convenience stores and that kind of stuff. that
Right.
It was
At the
quite a
time.
few of those situations coming up. And there, some were literally half a block to a block apart.
We haven't had one application in at least a year. I'm trying to remember, last fall was the last one for a restaurant, so that's still available. There's been no interest in that.
What's the status with the downtown prohibition too? Because for a period, we had a prohibition only on businesses in the downtown. Has that expired?
This is all together.
Yeah, but, okay,
It's gone.
so at the end of the month, if this is not approved tonight, then there's no moratorium anywhere in the city.
Correct.
Okay.
Any further discussion? I didn't mean to cut you off if you had something to say with it. Okay?
So the motion was to deny.
No.
No, to adopt.
Up the
Adopt the
resolution.
rest
If you want the moratorium, vote yes. If you don't, vote no.
I've got Hurt and Poulos for the first and the second on the motion.
Let's do roll call.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
No.
Poulos.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
No.
Hurt.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Nay.
So I have 4. Motion carries.
Item 13B.
Report from the Community and Economic Development Department regarding a resolution to create a high-impact project business assistant program.
Move to adopt the resolution.
Second?
Moved and second. Any discussion?
Miles, can you come up here and just broad strokes describe this? We had grit, now we're adding this. What was the reason for this, and why is this a good thing to do?
Well, very simply, I mean, a big project is different than a small project. And if someone is going to bring something to us that has a bigger impact on the community, our stake in the project reasonably can be justifiably bigger. Very basically, what this says is if your project's $1 million of investment, plus you're creating 10 or more jobs, we're going to chip in a lot more money than the original PEP and GRIT programs were designed to chip in.
Is that going to then crowd out other smaller participants? If the big players suck up all the grit money, is there going to be any left for smaller businesses?
Something that we've discovered is that the applications coming in for PEP and GRIT are coming in much more slowly than we anticipated. A lot of the projects that we thought we had were at much earlier stages, and we're not ready to proceed. There was a lot of interest in taking advantage of the programs, but people had not yet completed really all of the background work to bring us something which we could reasonably approve and provide funding for. So staff, having gone through a few months now, kind of engaging with smaller businesses with presumably smaller projects, feel comfortable approving this because we do have some higher impact projects that are ready to proceed. Keep in mind, I mean, longer term, yes, we will need to find new funding sources for these programs when ARPA dollars do wind down eventually. But for the time being, we have big projects ready to go, not as many small projects ready to go.
Okay.
I remember when the initial intake form, we had like 29 businesses complete the intake form. So you're saying that a lot of them, the smaller projects, weren't ready complete a full application, but bigger projects were.
That's correct. So folks might know generally what the scope of a project is. They know they need a new roof and some new windows or what have you, but they may not have gone and gotten quotes to really understand what the cost of the project would be. It's that kind of stuff that just hasn't been lined up. So people have a general sense of what it is they want to do, but not enough detail for us to say what the dollar amount to put into it would be.
So does this eliminate the opportunity for those that are not high-impact businesses?
Nope, it just adds another category of programming to the overall set of assistance that is available. So approving this does not end that smaller scale PEP and GRIT option for smaller businesses.
Okay, thank
So
you.
everyone can still apply, everyone can still pursue it. They just have to make sure they've got everything lined up ready for the full application.
And without being specific, has it been your experience that those who have applied just have not had the financial backing to fulfill their end of the deal?
In some cases, we of course have businesses that are just struggling to allocate sufficient resources to really match us. In other cases, it's just that they're just not there yet. They need more time to pull things together. So it's a mixed bag. Every business is a little bit different.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hurt.
Aye.
And Gilbert.
Aye.
Thank you. Item 13C.
Report from the Public Works Department regarding a resolution declaring support for the submittal of Reconnecting Communities and Neighborhood Grant Program application for US 67 11th Street between 5th Avenue and Black Hawk Road and 5th Avenue between 11th and 15th Streets.
Motion to approve the resolution as recommended.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Yes, go ahead, Moses.
So I was just trying to figure out what the scope of the project is, or do we know at this point?
So this is a planning grant. It would basically take the project from beginning phases of the public engagement, all the stakeholders that would be included in and what they want to see for that corridor.
Okay.
And then take it to the final design phase to where it's essentially ready to go out for bids after all that work has been completed.
It's almost identical to what we're trying to do on the south side of 11th Street, right?
Yes, correct. And somewhat similar to what we just did in the downtown, but
Gotcha.
more involved.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is an example of something that I wish had come to council where we could have had a better explanation of it. And then we were all receiving emails asking to write a letter to support this. Do we have the letter done?
No, we were going to prepare that after tonight's meeting if it was approved.
Okay, I thought the deadline was Friday.
The deadline, we're giving ourselves some extra time,
Oh, okay.
so.
I just would have liked a lot more background information and a
Yeah, and I
presentation.
apologize for that. We'll work on that going forward. These grants come up very quickly and they close quickly and there's a lot of work involved with them. And so, we're not only applying for this grant, we're working on, 5 or 6 at the same
Right,
time.
I understand.
And so, yeah, but this would be a good project. This is part of what we've applied for grants along 11th Street now for the past 3-4 years, have been unsuccessful, not to the fault of Public Works or Engineering Division, but part of the debriefs that we've had with our previous submittals was the fact that we need a more shovel-ready project. And so this gets us to that shovel-ready project, getting the environmental completed out of the way. So we think this would be very beneficial, and then if we were to get the funding and get the project designed, we would be able to apply for other grants for the construction phase as well, like we have been previously. So we think it would be a good application.
Could Miles come up here, because I have a question about community planning in addition to Public Works. Don't go anywhere, Mike. So using the downtown, the recent infrastructure improvement project with the Rebuild Downtown, or whatever the heck we're calling it, as an example, I thought that project was very much helped by the fact that we had the 2015 downtown revitalization plan. where we could say, we have a community plan here for the downtown, saying that people want the WHBF tower lit up, or what, a dog park, et cetera. And we were able to slot that stuff into the planning for the infrastructure, right? We have what, the Make Sense plan for 11th Street from like.
Making sense with a C.
Yeah, Making Sense with a C. It's a clever, I mean, it's very 1990s is when that thing came out, right? But we have that plan. Is this the North 11th Street TIF? Is that this area?
This would be in the south, right?
This is the south?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure about the north portion. But the project that we're looking at is actually a bigger scope. So we're looking at, in this application, from Black Hawk Road to Fifth Avenue, and then this, basically the 67 corridor from bridge to bridge.
Okay. All right, well, I guess the reason that I asked about the North TIF, and it would make, I mean, the south part of 11th Street's included in a TIF too, right?
I forget
Isn't the
exactly.
Watchtower Plaza a TIF zone?
That's
It's
a
not the
zone.
nor-
That's a zone too.
Yeah, that's, the cutoff between
Right.
the two TIFs is just a little north of there, kind of near 31st Avenue.
But my point being that, do we have any up-to-date community plans for 11th Street? Like we have the downtown revitalization plan?
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned the TIF plans because they are fundamentally redevelopment plans.
Right.
They lay out, why that there are blighted conditions, why a TIF would be helpful in ameliorating those, and kind of what improvements would be good to see.
Right.
So in a certain sense, those are the plans from which one could derive guidance on what should be done. The age of a plan also does not necessarily mean that it is not relevant. So there's a lot of material in the Making Sense plan, even though it's 30-plus years old at this point, that's still good sense, as well as just general comments from staff. And I do want to point something out here, which is that Public Works has engaged the CED department for input in this exact vein. What do any relevant planning documents we have to contribute as part of the narrative justifying this project? And we have drawn from as many of our planning documents as possible, from the comp plan to Making Sense. They're all pretty uniform in the basic kind of community planning guidance that they provide about the future of that corridor.
Do we see this project that we're hoping to secure through the grant, this planning project, as like an equivalent process to the 2015 downtown revitalization plan for the 67 corridor? Are these similar documents?
I would say that there is a distinction insofar as the 2015 plan goes far beyond infrastructure, talking about programming, talking about potential development sites, the need to provide resources for property owners. So in that way, it's much more expansive. So I wouldn't say that they're quite the same, though a lot of the thinking around just the streets themselves is a parallel.
What is staff's thought on getting a plan like the downtown revitalization plan for the 67 corridor? I mean, is that something that we should consider doing?
In the past, we have talked about in the CED department the idea of doing corridor development plans, which integrated some of the infrastructure improvements along with economic development efforts. So, for example, 18th Avenue, when you really look at it from a land use perspective, is complex. It's a two-lane road that has some of our highest traffic counts in the cities. You have a complex interplay between single-family uses and then some very high-intensity businesses, right? So you've got somebody's house and you got Hy-Vee. They don't always play all that nicely together, and we don't really have planning documents other than the future land use plan, which offers like buffer guidance. The planning documents really explain how we want the long-term vision of development along that corridor to be shaped. The same could be true of Black Hawk Road. The same could be true of the 5th, 6th Avenue corridor, or the 4th, 5th Avenue corridors. So we have discussed it, but it's never moved further than that. Quite simply, we just haven't had direction to do it from council or allocation of resources to do it.
Would something like that make applying for this type of grant easier?
Yes. Should.
But then how does the West End revitalization all fit into this? I mean, it should be, were they contacted for a support letter?
No, and that's not, that would be part of the next step, if this was approved, the public engagement, all the stakeholders will be brought in, and that's when that discussion would happen.
Okay. I feel like there's so many different, like, entities working on basically the same thing, and like nobody's talking to each other.
So that did come up at the NAACP Housing Committee meetings that we have attended, that there's a lot of overlapping efforts that don't always get communicated very well to one another. A lot of the point of planning documents is to try to create that kind of interconnected shared vision so that everyone can kind of refer back and say, oh no, we all had the same idea, we agreed on it, and that's kind of what we're going to stick to and move forward with. And again, those are documents then, even if they get a little bit old, can still be used when we're seeking funding. It's often commented that there are a lot of plans collecting dust on shelves. Well, you can pull them off and dust them off any time if a grant comes up and then you're ready with something that you can say, actually, yes, 15, 20 years ago, this was a project we wanted to do. A few little tweaks to the language and you plug it right into the grant app. That's what Public Works comes to CED often, I think, seeking. So this idea of the dusty plan on the shelf, well, it's okay if they collect a little bit dust. We can dust them off. They're good to have. But they take time and resources to develop.
Well, I know 11th Street is very far away from the Fifth Ward, but I, for one, would be interested in a plan similar to the downtown revitalization plan for the West End, 11th Street, 9th Street, whatever we want to call it. I think that would be helpful, as you indicated.
Okay. Any other discussion? We need a roll call.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hertz.
Aye.
And Gilbert.
Aye.
Item 14A and B.
Budget, I can read them both. Budget adjustment items A and B.
Move to approve the budget adjustments A and B as recommended.
Second.
Move to second. Any discussion?
Miles, I got questions now. Sorry. This one's about B.
I just needed like a high chair
I know,
right
right?
here.
This one is about the class building.
Yes,
So-
buildings.
Yes, plural. So basically, it looks like there's a little less than $36,000 that would be kind of carried over towards the, what are we going to do? My question, what are we going to do? So are we going to take over that property? Is that the plan? Or is that just kind of setting it aside in case, or?
Yeah, so just so everyone's clear, this money right here is to help pay for the fencing that we have been forced to erect around both of the buildings that we collectively refer to as the class buildings, out of a need to protect the public. If you go past there, you don't need to be a structural engineer to know that those buildings are in an extremely deteriorated and dangerous condition, and we will not allow for anyone to enter those premises and possibly get hurt. Though people keep trying to get in there to tag them, the battle continues. Tomorrow, we do have a meeting with our legal counsel to discuss some of the next steps. As the council may recall, we have actually moved into civil court with the owner of both properties to address the situation. And at this time, I'm a bit hesitant to comment further on where that stands, though we can certainly, after tomorrow's meeting, if it is desired, provide an update in the weeks to come.
That's fair. I just have a problem, the city paying for someone else's problems, so.
That's
All we
that-
do, it's all we do up here, pay for
Right.
other people's problems.
It happens often. The number one thing is public safety.
Safety.
We must protect the public welfare. And
I get it. I just wish they
building
did.
conditions often being what they are, and circumstances in our near vicinity also having been what they've been of late, we have a very low tolerance for risk.
Completely understand.
Politically well said.
All right. Any other questions? Roll call.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hertz.
Aye.
And Gilbert.
Aye.
Are we having fun yet, everybody?
Have fun.
Made him change his seat.
Yeah. Item 15A.
Report from the Community and Economic Development Department regarding sign variance request from Hamad Gruel of AOC Center LLC at 3009 18th Avenue.
Move to deny the requested variance, but consider the exemptions or stipulations recommended by CED.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
With that regard, I would like to have Miles come back up because this is an officer safety issue. It really is. And so, Miles, would you?
Yes, Tim, would you open the report that shows the photos? And scroll down to what shows the facade of the building, if you please. Yeah. So council may recall back when we updated the sign ordinance that we added some language that had previously not been there about signs in on windows. And that was included as a request from our emergency first responders so that they could see into buildings and know what situations they might be called there to face. Okay? Many communities around the country adopted rules of this kind because of a number of high-profile incidents where windows were so plastered with signage, officers did not know what they were going to face. So as you can see here on this business, they've added quite a lot of signage, decals specifically, to those windows, which violate those regulations that we adopted, I think, back at the end of 2019. And it is exactly the circumstance that we were trying to prevent. Basically, what staff is saying here is that those window signs need to be removed and they need to achieve compliance there. They also have some other temporary signs around light posts, which isn't allowed. We are giving them some grace, though. The actual essentials vape tobacco, CBD, THC signage is a little too large for the attached signage requirements. We are saying that since you've already put those up there, you can keep that in good faith. The rest of that, though, needs to be brought into compliance. That's basically what CED is recommending. Also prohibiting any additional signage because they're on that corner where they might want to add it on the other side, though they do admit that it doesn't have very high visibility on that side.
Could we hear from the chief of police as well?
So Miles, so all that signage that's on the front windows, they have to take that off? Is that what you're saying?
So in the sign ordinance, what we establish is basically a visibility strip. I believe it's between like 3 and 6 feet, where there has to be an unobstructed view into the building. We also have some additional standards that have to do with transparency. So as we've all seen, there's a lot of different decals that you might add on to a glass surface with varying degrees of transparency. Some of them, in fact, fully block something out or function almost like a mirror surface.
So the top part?
Yeah, basically so a person of average height can see clearly inside the building.
Oh, okay, I got a question, and I hate to bring this up, but in that same picture, the business right next to it has curtains in the windows that you can't see in. So,
Yep, that's the rule.
Yeah, so that did come up at the time that language was being discussed, and it's a question of don't make perfect the enemy of the good. There is a long track record of communities having every right to regulate signage. It's reaffirmed in the courts over and over again that we have authority over that. I don't know of any court, maybe I'm wrong, that has ruled that we can regulate people's drapery. Just am not aware of it. Maybe there's some case law that our attorney can tell me about.
You feel the heat?
But we don't want to make perfect the enemy of the good. You know, that we can do something within our power to improve safety for police or any other first responder is something that we should do. That someone might occasionally draw the blinds and pose an issue doesn't make that any less true.
so we have nothing on the books that stops a business from putting drapes up, but we're gonna tell them to take their signs down. So and this is just me being devil's advocate at this point. You tell me to take my signs down, but the business next to me have drapes, so I can put drapes up and you can't touch me.
They could also not have any windows at all, right? But again, thinking through the real-world scenarios in which these questions are really going to come up. Which businesses are the most likely to be stuck up for cash?
Right.
Which businesses are the ones most likely to have a plethora of signage shoved in the windows? okay? I don't want to spell it out too plainly, but I just want folks to kind of think through the reality of how this really plays out. And I would invite the chief of police to comment on this, as I believe he or his predecessor is the one that made that request that it be included.
I agree with everything that Miles said. Yeah. I will tell you that if my recollection's right, in Chapter 3 of our liquor licenses, it's actually, under the liquor licenses, you're prohibited from blocking anything in the windows. They're supposed to have a clear view. It's a struggle, especially with convenience stores. If you drive around the convenience stores, they love to put posters up and cover it up. We would routinely go in there and say, you got to get this down, and things like that. It's a struggle to stay on top of that, just because there's so many. But absolutely, and I think Miles hit on it. I will remind you that, I don't know, it was earlier in 2022, we had the vape store, Black Hawk Vape, that was robbed and turned into a shooting. Miles is right. Unfortunately, I don't know if the Panda Express, is that what it is? I'm trying to think of the name there, the restaurant. What was that? Oriental Express? Those businesses are less likely to be targets of these types of crimes where they're going to be victimized. Vape stores, convenience stores, bars, those are, unfortunately, that's why that extra bit of ability for us to see what's going on inside. And again, if they don't have any windows, that's one thing. But I will tell you that there was, maybe Alderman Poulos can talk about, but bars would routinely try to cover up the windows because they did not want people seeing inside what was going on.
I don't disagree with anything that we're talking about now. I think you guys are missing the point. If that's the case, then we need to have some kind of verbiage that states that they can't have drapes or something like that in the window, or is that, am I missing the point here?
Again, it has to do with what repeated, cases in court affirm as our right to regulate, right? Again, and I would invite comment on this. There's a lawsuit in the realm of drapery if we say you can't put up any window dressings unless we approve them.
Gotcha.
There's just not case law that supports that a municipality has that authority. There is a lot of case law that says we can regulate signage. We can regulate time, place, and manner all day long. Not content, but all the rest of that. And we can justify why we're regulating it very clearly, pulling it back to public safety. Drapes? There's no case law on that. Am I on point here?
I mean, I would agree with everything that Miles has said. As far as signage goes, that falls squarely within those authorities. I'm not aware of anything allowing city council to regulate blind or curtain usage.
I would like to, though,
But I do understand the point.
Can I throw one thing in? The one exception to keeping this from happening in bars is the liquor license. The liquor license is what we can control as far as that they can't block windows. So they could not take all the decals off the window, the posts off the windows, and then put blinds up. In fact, they've tried to do that, and we've got them for doing that.
But with this being a vape shop, we don't have that.
That is correct, because they don't have a license. That's the lack of control that you have.
Right.
but I would like to add something, as somebody who's been on the street, is the ability for a perpetrator, an individual inside, to be able to see outside, see who the officer's coming, is limited by the drapes. However, the lighting on the outside lights up the officers, and the people inside are not lit as well, so they can see the officers approaching, and it puts the officers at a tactical disadvantage.
Yeah. And we run into the same thing with tinted windows. They'll try to tint the windows one way and stuff like that. So again, it's a way for us to control that.
So, there's another vape shop that has like all their windows covered. Maybe can we add that to vape shops too?
So, as some council members have inquired from time to time, we are slowly but surely moving through our corridor, our business corridors, trying to bring enforcement down a little more firmly as we've achieved some better staffing levels of late. So we are proceeding with enforcement. This, again, similar to the special use permit earlier, went through the enforcement process, and they made a request to try to get approval for what they're doing, right? Others are just slowly taking their signage down, adjusting their lighting, which is another thing we're doing as part of enforcement, and coming into compliance.
On a side note, those LED lights are just gaudy as all
Yeah.
get out.
You, council will notice, however, that slowly but surely they're not flashing anymore.
It looks like the Vegas Strip.
If you see a business with flashing strobe lighting that is a violation of our code, please take a video of it and document when that happened and send it to me so that I can show that in Municies. If it's just a steady light or it's not strobing, it's just gradually changing color like what we see perhaps next door, the Royal Neighbors building, that's not a violation. However, the illumination standard is if we're standing at the property edge, it can't be greater than 1 foot candle. And we do have a tool that can definitively measure that. That is a standard we see across all communities. So something may appear bright to an individual, but if it meets that standard, then it's in compliance. The flashing lights, though, if you see that, please, please, please record a video of it, or have, if a constituent is complaining about, tell them that we need a video, and that is what we can take to Municies and say, oh no, someone went and recorded it, hearing officer hears it happening, it needs to stop or we're gonna start fining you, so.
Okay. Roll call. Oh, you got someone else?
Could we just have the clerk restate the motion that was made?
Sure. Alderperson Poulos made the motion to deny the original request and approve the staff recommended variance.
And just, so staff is, we're all in agreement.
And which
You're-
was the 88-foot sign on the front?
So Alderman Poulos, you're basically saying whatever CED recommended is what you want.
Yes.
There we go.
And in this instance,
For the signs, but they can keep the one that's on
The
the
top
building.
ones.
yes.
That's correct.
Are they moved?
They're
Okay,
removing the signs on the window, but they can keep the one on the.
but aren't they
on the building.
expanding to the other side of the building, doing further signage over there? Is that my understanding? Like on the side of the building?
No,
Said
the
they were
side of
not.
the building is prohibited as well.
Right.
It's gonna deny
The
that.
signs in the windows are prohibited.
Yes.
Yeah, they gotta have that strip on top where you can see it.
On both sides of the building.
Oh, you can see it.
All right, roll call.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Poulos.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hurt.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Item 15B.
Report from the Community and Economic Development Department regarding a zoning variance request from Ann McGlynn of Tapestry Farms at 2525 4th Avenue.
Move to approve the zoning variance requests.
Second.
Move to second, quick.
Got him.
Any discussion?
Pot there.
I gotta say that I kind of viewed it, talked to them and everything else, and it's a great project. Botanical Center is excited about having it down there also. Dylan and I toured that and talked to them, and I think it'd be a wonderful project.
Maybe this kind of project is something that could help in our food desert.
Correct. Roll call, please.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Poulos.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hurt.
Aye.
And Gilbert.
Aye.
16A.
Report from the Traffic Engineering Committee regarding a request from the Rock Island Academy, 930 14th Street, to change traffic flow and parking. First reading, just a reminder to council, Alderperson Robinson tabled this from the previous meeting.
I move to not consider the ordinance.
Second.
Moved to second. Any discussion?
Yes. Can I don't know who's gonna answer these questions. Quite a few. Do we have traffic counts for this area?
Do we have traffic counts for this area? I believe we do, yes.
What, do we know what those are?
I don't have them.
I'm sorry.
in front of
And
me.
I'll
I
email it then.
apologize.
So how was the plan developed to come up with this particular plan? Because it seems kind of odd to have a one-way on the 2 blocks and then it turns back into regular traffic, I think between 7th and 8th, but just in these 2 particular blocks. And then on the other side of the academy, another one-way going south. How did that plan come about?
So the school came up with the plan.
Okay.
And submitted it to the city, and we reviewed it through our traffic engineering committee. That's not uncommon, that process, how that happens, and we review it.
And I guess it really wouldn't be an issue if it was just during the school day, but this is permanent then. It would be all the time, right?
Yeah, it would be permanent, and part of the reason for that was, before we had on school days during certain hours, and we had flip signs. The
Right.
flip signs wouldn't get changed around, so then we were mimicking like other cities such as Moline, who would just have the signs up that say the hours, and people still weren't obeying those signs, and so there was still confusion. So we thought it would be the safest option to just have it permanent.
That goes into the concern. We don't have personnel to enforce this, because I'm having a real problem already in my ward with one-ways. People are ignoring the signs and they're just blowing up one-ways, and people are not recognizing. Luckily, we don't have more accidents than we have already. But the fact that we don't have enforcement for that 2-block area, and then it turns right back into regular 2-lane traffic, that to me is a huge concern. With it being right there by the school, I don't think this is going to really solve the issue. And I get it. There's logistic issues with how everything is compiled right there in that small area.
Yes.
But I think just cutting off the 2 blocks and making that a one-way, but then you go right back into, now if all of 12th Street was that way, which I know that's not possible, it's a little bit different. But to go from regular traffic to one-way, then right back to regular traffic, I think that's going to cause more of a safety concern. So that's why I was just wondering, how is enforcement going to be if we do go with this?
Yeah, and the enforcement would be from the PD, obviously.
It's this way, I believe, at Washington Junior High. It's the same way.
Several schools have one-ways.
Washington's already this way. I'm not condoning this, I'm just saying is Washington is that way.
It has on both the east and west side.
That's
But it's a little
correct,
bit
but
more
it turns to 2-way
Yes.
when you go down past the
At
school.
20th Avenue.
It's a little bit more
That's
controlled at
easier.
Washington, because you can, that whole area. Here, you're going down 12th Street, and then it goes into a one-way, and then it goes back into regular traffic.
And it does there at Washington.
Math and Science Center does the same.
Yeah, Science Center. Not, like I said, I'm not condoning this, it's your ward.
Yeah, I don't
Everybody
think
else.
there's-
But there are several schools in Rock Island that are already the exact same way this is.
And I guess this is why I was kind of, preface my question with the traffic count. How much traffic is, because I know there's a lot of traffic on 12th Street, so just to see that there, I just got real scared. And a lot of the calls I got, that's the main concern they had.
Understood.
Was that. The fact that it's just going to abruptly stop and go into a one-way and then go right back into regular traffic, with us already having the problems with controlling the one-ways, because we can't have an officer sitting there that whole time trying to correct that. So
No.
You got it right here, City Hall, you got it, 2-way, it turns into a one-way.
I do know that the school originally submitted this just on school days, and the engineering committee overruled that to go with the permanent. So I'm sure that if it would help for you to reconsider just on the school days, the school would be okay with that. But again, that's not going to help with the enforcement part of that, because people, again, they're going to do what they're going to do, right?
Right.
And the sign's not going to change there,
Right.
whether they fly through that the wrong way or not.
And I've had 2 constituents hit me up about Denkman, that they're parking on both sides of the one-way. So exactly what you said, they're gonna do what they wanna do.
Right.
Yeah,
So-
Dankman is another one-way.
Yeah.
I think our fire chief had something to add to
Oh,
it, or?
sure.
We understand your concern, and I'm part of the traffic engineering committee, and I met with the principal that day. And so, one of the biggest concerns was by going to flipping the signs, we thought the safety of the children was going to be the primary concern, and just keeping it at a permanent status, hopefully we could start to have that enforcement, that we would have that in that area. And especially if you look between 9 and 10 and 12, there's only 3 houses that are on that location. 14th Street is pretty much already set up for a one-way when you drive down that side of the block.
Right.
Going down there, in my opinion, it's not a matter if there's going to be an accident with a child at the school. It's a matter of when. The chaos that is there right now I think is untenable at this point in time. And that's why we decided, I took crews down there, we talked to the principal. Going to a permanent was my recommendation, the fact that maybe we could just keep that flow going, especially with the more year-round school. There's going to be no easy solution with, 9th and 10th, avenues coming across, but this was the least of all evils. Keeping students being dropped off on the passenger sides of the vehicle. He's having stories about how parents are calling students across the street with 2-way traffic. And that's why we made the recommendation to go to the one-way between those 2 blocks, is that if we can enforce that year-round, then we're not flipping signs.
I get all that. To me, it's the enforcement. How are we going to enforce it? Because case in point, Thurgood Marshall, they have early Head Start. Same exact thing. Parents fly through there. Not only fly through there, they stop their cars in the middle of the street. So some of it is just driver education. And without having a police officer there, and I know that's impossible, we're going to have more issues because now you have traffic coming up, going south up 12th Street. Some may abide by the signs, but most likely some of them don't care and they're just gonna go right through. That's my biggest concern.
And we understand, we try to come up with the most plausible solution with the children in mind, with drop-off sides, and keeping that traffic flow as best as we could.
So what was did we have a discussion about just continue it down to 7th Avenue? Why did we stop at 8th Ave, 8th Avenue, I believe?
Because we've had, just when we were looking at it, with 9th and 10th, there would be able to have the ability to,
Turn off.
vehicles would be able to turn both ways. Because to have people go, if we went down, we thought there would be more traffic going down towards 11th, and then to have to cross those two lanes there would be it'd be easier to kind of have people being able to split off both ways.
Well, if it went down to 7th Avenue, wouldn't that be akin to what you have up on 30th Street at Washington? Because you have that busy thoroughfare there, people are less likely to come running through there when they know that the likelihood that they're gonna come across a very immovable object at the other end.
Does Tim want to pull up the map, as Alderwoman Gilbert had alluded to?
I mean,
On
I
there,
guess
is it on there?
what Alderman Robinson was getting at is if it went to 7th Avenue, you have not necessarily a roadblock, but you have a resistance there that you have similar to what you have up on 18th Avenue.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest concern a lot of the residents had. Tim, can you go up a little bit where you can see the 8th Avenue sign? So right there where it stops right at 8th Avenue, it goes back to regular traffic. So you have two-lane traffic coming. And then if we don't have enforcement there to prevent people from coming down that road, either, they're gonna come and they're gonna realize, oh, this is a one-way. So then they're gonna have to turn off on 9th Avenue. But you're still causing that dilemma right there. And I get it, it's hectic over there, trying to drop off kids and then with the bus routes also. I think that's why the buses he's planning on the 14th Avenue or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, just 12th Street for me is just hard to kind of navigate that. I think we're going to get into a bit more issues by creating that as a one-way.
Can we table this for more discussion?
Yeah, I'm open to that.
Been tabled once already, but we'd have to remove the current motion and.
Is there a four-way there? Bear with me, I don't know. At 12th and 8th?
Only a three-way stop.
I don't think so.
12th and 8th.
Well,
It's not a four-way there because the roadway goes in, it doesn't.
12th. It's a
Oh,
two-way
12th.
right now.
My bad.
I'll drive by it, don't worry about it.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
Is there a four-way there at 12th and 8th? 12th Street and 8th Avenue? Is there a four-way there currently?
Right there? Four-way stop sign?
Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Where you are. There is.
So, for me and my constituents in that area, they don't want the one-way. Their concerns were kind of what I voiced tonight, so I don't know how we can navigate and come to a conclusion of what's best for everyone involved, but.
Yeah, we certainly want to come up to that conclusion. Next step would be to go back to the school and see if we can do some sort of amendment and bring it back.
Okay.
Obviously, we would bring it back with you as well.
Okay,
If we wish to table it again, whoever made the motion and second would have to withdraw.
I can withdraw.
You withdraw? Who seconded?
I made the motion.
I second it and I'll withdraw.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion?
Move to table.
Two?
To a
What
date
kind of a
certain?
timeline do we need here?
Moses, when do you want?
Because
Oh, no.
we need to go back with the school.
We probably need 30 days, approximately.
So first meeting in November?
Yeah, that'd be good.
13th.
Because they're going on break next week, so,
That gives 30 days to,
yeah. That's what I mean, they're going on break, so we most likely be able to get with the principal. I don't know their schedule, but we can get with the principal because the school's going on break.
what's your take?
I'm good with tabling it till then.
No, November 13th is,
November 13th?
That's good.
all right. All those in favor, we do roll call, no discussion. Roll call, please.
Is that a second?
We don't have a second.
I need a second.
Yeah, we do have a second.
Who, I'm sorry, I missed it.
No, I made the motion.
I second.
Motion.
All right, there was a second.
Oh, okay. Thanks
Okay.
for the clarification.
Thought I heard one. Roll call, please.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Healy. Robinson.
Aye.
Hertz.
Aye.
And Gilbert.
Aye.
16B,
Report for the Traffic and Engineering Committee regarding a request to ban parking on the west side of 16th Street from 6th Avenue North to the alley, first reading.
Move to consider, suspend the rules, and pass the ordinance.
Second.
moved in second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hertz.
Aye.
And Gilbert.
Aye.
16C,
Report from the Traffic Engineering Committee regarding a speed hump policy and application, first reading.
Motion to consider the ordinance?
Second.
moved in second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I got some questions.
Go for it.
Petition process. I know there's gonna get a lot of requests, like you stated before, and I think when we brought this forward. So when the applicant pays for that, do we know the time frame? Because you said, I think you stated that you have to look at the condition of the road.
Yeah, there's a lot involved.
Right. So with them paying $100, or they paid $100 and then they have to wait to see if it's improved? Do we have any kind of idea?
I'll be honest with you, I don't know how long it's going to take without doing them. I could reach out to City of Davenport. They've done a few of these so
Right.
far, but again, it's gonna take months.
I can just I can see residents upset that they have money being held and nothing's being done. So I don't know if we want to change that process. What do you,
Can they pay it if it gets approved?
Yeah, in there, it says that if it's not approved, they get their money back.
Well, yeah, I know, but for some of our residents, us holding $100, you know.
Yeah, we can amend what we have in there. Again, it was just to not get a bunch of
Yeah.
requests.
Is the intention here to sort of disencourage people to apply? Or at least be serious when they apply?
Serious inquiries, yes.
The question I had, because this wasn't brought up when we first discussed it, with the signatures, or maybe it was and I missed that.
For what?
You have to get signatures of the neighbors.
Yeah, 2/3.
property owners?
Yeah, but like, so how far, so you're familiar with my intersection, where everybody's blowing through that stop sign, going west. So, I mean, how do you determine what signatures you need? Because it's not just, it's a four-way, well, it's a two-way stop. So it's like 23rd Street, north and south, and 20.5 Avenue, east and west.
So it's two-thirds majority, so wherever we're gonna place that speed hump location, we would pull that area based off our GIS aerial map.
So like the liquor license.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but for me, for the liquor license.
I was just
it goes
gonna,
to
I was gonna say,
Like,
we're gonna have to waive
so-
signature requirements.
so
The people on that
technically, like-
frontage, it's not a square radius. You understand what I'm saying?
No, I'm
Right.
trying to figure out like how far, block, because right after my house, there's an alley, and then it goes to 24th Street. So like, do you have to get everybody from 24th Street to the stop sign? I guess I'm not clear on like,
No, we're looking at two-thirds of the majority, right where that's going to be placed.
Where it's affected.
But we're not looking at, from a 5-block section.
well, no, I wasn't gonna do.
So it's both sides of that speed hump. It would be, if you
Correct.
go both sides.
Sure.
And the question is, where's the stopping point? Is it the next intersection, 2/3 of from one intersection to another?
I'll say a reasonable distance.
That doesn't help.
Sounds like this is in the startup phase that's gonna need a lot of work kinked out. We should approve this, in my opinion, and allow the kinks to be worked out.
Agreed.
If we come back and we need to lower the price, or if we need to amend the distance for the sign, signatures, then we can do that. But for right now, we need to get this up off the ground, and I would encourage us to pass
Yeah,
it.
I just want us to possibly look at that 300 vehicles a day also.
Well, I know I'm gonna have constituents that are gonna be very upset because they're not gonna reach that level. Okay, we'll start out with the 300, maybe we'll work it down.
do you have traffic counts on, like, a lot of these streets? And I know you're also looking at through streets, too. Oh, okay.
The very person that contacted me that started this whole process to develop a hub is not gonna be eligible for this hub because they're not on a big residential street, so,
We
you know,
lowered
like,
that from City of Davenport. They start at 500 and we lowered it to 3.
So can a resident call into the Public Works number and somebody who answers the phone have have a list and can say, right off the bat, you qualify or you don't qualify by the traffic counts? Because why go through the process of collecting signatures and everything if you don't even qualify? But
So
a resident wouldn't know that.
So the initial request, if somebody's going to call and ask about that or consider filling out an application, we would be able to give them that information over the phone.
Okay, but they gotta call.
Well, I don't, we wouldn't know otherwise if they don't call.
Right, so they shouldn't, I mean, it'd be like, just make a phone call and see if you even
Yeah, yep,
cross the first hurdle.
before going through the whole process. And again, some with these kinks, a lot of the information's like the 2/3, how much of the survey we include or people we survey, that's gonna be ironed out with the drawing a blank here, the analysis that we do for each request, so.
Would this be prohibited on, like, state highways vis-à-vis 11th Street and Route 92 as you're coming around Augustana? Because I know the cars down there may or may not go faster than the posted limit.
Yeah, I think we say no more than 5,000 vehicles per day, and it can't be faster than 30 miles an hour.
Huh?
Can't put a speed hump.
You can't put a speed hump down there because they'd be, half of them would end up on the railroad tracks.
I'd need a new car after a week.
We could do that anyway, Mike, we could do that
I'd pay
anyway,
to
right?
watch it.
'Cause it's a state road, we couldn't.
Not on 11th Street, no.
Right.
Yeah, it's a state road also, you can't.
The maximum vehicle is 5,000 per day, and it can't be installed on a street that's over 30 miles an hour.
sounds like you have thought this through. Thank you very much.
Roll call, please.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hertz.
Aye.
And Gilbert.
Aye.
17A.
Report from the Mayor's Office regarding an appointment to the Inspections Commission and an appointment to the Human Rights Commission.
Move to approve the appointments as recommended.
Second.
Move to second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hertz.
Aye.
And Gilbert.
Aye.
18, any other business?
You.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to call up Chief Landy, and I would like to have him talk a little bit about our license plate readers and how recently we've had some, just kind of talk about what kind of success we've had in the city and how this has been beneficial. And this kind of came to light. We had an incident here at City Hall with a grate being taken, and I found it kind of interesting how this all works. So I'd like you to talk about that a little bit.
Sure, let me kind of just lay it out. I came in on September 12th, and there was an email from Luke Van Lanigan. Apparently, after our September 11th council meeting, some council members were out in our courtyard and noticed that one of our grates for our egress windows was missing. And that information got translated or sent over to Public Works, and Luke got on, and we have cameras that monitor this courtyard, and identified a vehicle that pulled in there on September 10th, and some individuals removed those grates. And so he notified me, which from there, several things happened that were successes, including using the LPR system. With that, I actually put together a short video. You can see some of how all this comes together, and with your permission, I'd like to show it.
Man, you guys are prepared for
Yeah,
this.
you're ready for this.
Yes,
huh?
we are.
Exactly. Somebody was queued up.
Somebody's flexing tonight.
Come on.
Yeah, sure, Alderman Hurt. Yeah. Oh, I have something.
So, this video you see right here, this is September 10th at 10:25 p.m., and you'll see this pickup truck pull into our courtyard.
It is not my truck.
Pull us.
They pulled in right into my spot there.
Yes.
Yep.
So you'll see two individuals get out of the vehicle, and one, in fact, the driver goes right up to the grate that was taken, and then you're going to see them leave. Now, we can't make out the license plates with these cameras the camera that we see right here. So now they've loaded up the grate, and they're pulling out of the courtyard in this pickup truck. So once we knew the time and location, from there, it's a matter of tracking them now on our city cameras. And these individuals, they come out on 3rd Avenue, they turn on to 15th Street to go towards the Centennial Bridge to head towards Iowa. So we can see them traveling after they've done this theft. And then they go right across one of our LPR cameras, and there's the license plate, which is identified. From there, once we knew the plate, we identified the vehicle, the suspects involved. We entered it into the flock, and then on September 13th, the vehicle re-entered the city. We got an alert from the flock system that the truck had entered. We sent our officers in the area. That is Officer Dakota McManus in that squad car, one of our newer officers who got out there and located the vehicle, pulled it over. Both suspects were in the vehicle, and we ended up getting our grates back.
We did.
Yeah, I was gonna say. What I want to know is where's the production produced by, you know.
Our Facebook page, right?
No.
Turn it into cops.
Yeah, put this together pretty quickly. It was pretty easy to do once we had the information, all this together. But again, the point of all this is obviously the city's making an investment in not only the cameras, the LPR system, all these things. This is just a small snippet of what we can do with all that information in that investment. So I want you to know that it's paying off.
And the other thing to that whole case was that same group had went around to different areas.
Well, we were able to, when we obviously identified the vehicle, we could see where that vehicle had traveled to throughout the area because the LPR system is integrated. So it's not just the city of Rock Island. We're seeing them everywhere once it's part of the system. So just like with us, we share all of our cameras with the other cities. So of course, if they're working into cases or there's things that are being entered, stolen vehicles, vehicles that are wanted for other crimes or for investigative purposes, all that's entered into the system. So it's
Standing.
pretty
Thank
nice.
you.
Nice work.
Nice work.
Anything else, Alderman Hurt?
No, I'm good.
Any other setups?
Just one thing, I attended my first IML conference this weekend, and they had a portion of the conference where it was councilman roundtable. So new council members, some that have been there for a while, all discuss how things are working in their area or their particular cities, what's not working. One of the things that came up were about youth, how to get the youth involved, and I can't remember where she's from. I think she's from Bloomington. They have a youth council. So I just wanted to bring that up to us to see how we can, or if it's something that we are interested in creating a youth council so we can get kids involved. Because I know I had no idea what city council did at that age. And that's a great segue of getting them into that area so they can understand the concept and even as their parents. So just something I wanted to bring back.
Great idea.
Nice.
I don't know what that entails, and I'm waiting to get information of how they started and how, kind of like what their structure is with it. So I'm waiting on getting that information back from this individual.
No, I think it's great. I think it's outstanding. I would love to see that.
Used to have kids' classes where they would attend a city council meeting. They don't do that anymore.
No, because they mention councilman for a day or mayor for a day, stuff like that with the kids also, so.
Yeah, I think put some program together like that, I think it'd be wonderful. Alderman Poulos also attended, and Miles attended, and I also attended IML, and I think, once again, there was some good tracks there to listen to, hear speakers, and it was well worthwhile. And as Alderman Robinson found out, sometimes it's not just the track or the speakers you talk to, it's the networking that can be done is, I think, becomes very important also, is sitting next to somebody and talking to them and seeing what they do. And so it was a wonderful deal. I really appreciate it, and the time up there and everything else.
Met some of the council people from Galesburg, and they were interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, tell us about what that, interesting. Some good conversation.
But I did meet another council person from Silvis, and they were inquiring about even bringing some of us together to do some of this locally, just so we can communicate. And I know the mayors and city managers do it, but on the council level, I don't know if we do that. If we talk to other cities and throw ideas out there or see how things are working. Because I know with me, as a new council person, I came in blind, so it kind of helps when you have someone coming in.
Yep, I agree. And I think there was good conversations. Actually, the three of us sat at the bar for a while having a good conversation, not breaking OMA. We did not talk about city stuff.
Nothing at all.
You kept an eye on it for part of the conversation. We were there too, as everybody else. But we had good conversations about all different parts of the community and everything else. And it was a good to get to spend some time with council members, kind of off the side.
There was a very informative session on the consolidated pension fund, both police and fire. So,
if there's nothing else, entertain a motion to adjourn.
move to adjourn.
Second.
Move to second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Adjourned. Thank you.